Daily Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, court orders INEC to transmit election results electronically as governorship and assembly elections hold on Saturday. National Judicial Council recommends compulsory retirement of Chief Judge of Taraba State. Poultry farmers lose over 30 billion naira in cash crunch-induced egg glut. And on the foreign scene, state funeral held for Christian Atsu, Ghanaian footballer killed in Turkey earthquake. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Justice Obiora Egwatu of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has on Friday ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to electronically transmit Saturday's governorship and House of Assembly election results in accordance with its regulations and guidelines. Justice Egwatu, in a state judgment, also ordered the use of the bimodal voter accreditation system to upload a scanned copy of the Form EC8A to INEC Result Viewing Portal IREV immediately after the completion of all polling units voting and results procedures in Akwa Ibom State. The judge further directed the commission to conspicuously paste the publication of its results posters, EC60, at polling units after completing the EC8A results sheets in the state. He gave the judgment in a suit filed by the Labour Party and its governorship candidate in Akwa Ibom State, Uduakbong Udo, including 13 states' House of Assembly candidates for the March 18th elections. The Independent National Electoral Commission had, in its preliminary objection, said the suit was incompetent and the court lacked jurisdiction to entertain the suit, arguing that the applicants had not established a justifiable action against it. The court, however, dismissed its arguments. The Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, has said the absence of violence is critical to conducting credible elections. The center therefore recommends to the Independent National Electoral Commission, political parties, security agencies and the citizens to make deliberate efforts at achieving that during Saturday's governorship and state assembly elections. Noel Sampson reports that the center gave the recommendation at a press briefing in Abuja.
According to the director of the center, Idayat Hassan, elections held outside of consolidated democracy are often accompanied by substantial violence, which affects the credibility of elections. She said in Nigeria, the governorship and state assembly election is challenged by the threat of violence, logistics obstacles linked to insecurity and cash crunch and force scarcity, as well as decreased trust in the Independent National Electoral Commission.
In Saturday elections, we expect to actually see increased vote buying, because that is why we came up with the phrase that politics is actually local, with different intervening factors playing out, and now possibly with the more availability of Naira. But it's also been a consistent trend in previous elections that there are more vote buying during the subnational elections compared to the presidential elections, and we still expect the same trend to hold forth in the Saturday elections.
The CDD made key recommendations for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, political parties, security agencies, and the citizens ahead of the elections.
And we hope that voter turnout will be higher than it was during the presidential and national assembly elections, and that there will be little vote trading, that as unlike what happened during the 25th February elections.
What's also important is the management of logistics, particularly with the 1 month that 1 week extra they have had. We expect that there will be prompt opening of polls, adequacy of election materials, and better trained staff in these elections.
Bukola Idowu, Director, King Park Development Initiative, collaborates with what the CDD recommended.
On this note, we charge INEC to finalize all logistics today, as any logistical challenge might increase the already tense political atmosphere, which could trigger electoral violence. The Commission must ensure that all sensitive materials, such as ballot paper, are adequate and electoral equipment is in functional order. Voting material and ad hoc staff should arrive at the appropriate polling unit on time to avoid late commencement of polls. I think Nigerians want to go into this election not having the same excuse we have on the 25th.
The center encourages citizens to continue to participate in the democratic process by casting their vote in the elections. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And as Nigerians prepare for the governorship and state assembly elections this Saturday, some Katsina residents say capacity, credibility and competence are the qualities candidates need to possess in order to win votes. They also say despite the current cash crunch and insecurity, they will go all out to vote during Saturday's election. Abdullahi Yamadi completes the story.
Some of these residents said this Saturday's elections is their only hope and opportunity to vote for leaders that will address the current socio-economic problems. They are also optimistic that if leaders are voted based on competence, capacity, and credibility, some of the difficulties being faced will be a thing of the past.
It's very, very clear that everybody knows that it's not the issue of major parties and the candidates. We are going to vote based on the capability of our candidates, no matter which party they are. We are hoping tomorrow, inshallah, to see a peaceful election.
There, however, appeals to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to maintain its neutrality and make adjustments where necessary to have an election that is transparent, credible, acceptable, and devoid of rancor.
My suggestion to INEC this time, they should make sure that the beavers are well prepared, and they should come, the election officers should come as early as possible.
INEC should focus on the previous, lapses that they faced the previous election. I think they should try to tackle that kind of situation that is coming tomorrow in order to avoid some kind of issues.
The residents warned officials of the electoral umpire against any attempt to compromise the process at any level, saying that will amount to jeopardizing democracy. They asked ICPC, EFCC, and other election observers to expose vote buyers and sellers. Katsina residents are also hopeful that the process will be seamless from the beginning till end, at least for the nation's democracy to move forward. Abdullahi Ismail, Trust Television News, Katsina.
And ahead of Saturday's governorship and state assembly elections, police in Taraba State deploy officers and men of the command to ensure peaceful conduct of the exercise. Commissioner of Police Yusuf Ahmadu Suleiman urged his men to be non-partisan and professional while on election duty. Similarly, Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 3, comprising Adamawa and Taraba states, Usman Nagoku, enjoined the officers to replicate the good performance during the previous election.
We have to be very mindful of what is going to happen in the polling units in the collection centers. As I said earlier, we are not been found wanting in the last election. And this is not going to be an exception. We have our own laws, we have our own guidelines, which were distributed to not only you, including all other security agencies, and that have provided us with the guidelines of which we conduct ourselves. And so far, so good.
We are all aware that in the election period, the sister agencies normally bring their personnel for deployment to assist us in covering the polling units and other areas. The total strength of the police and other sister units that we have for this election is about 7,090. which, from the estimate I gave before, is barely adequate to cover the polling units.
And still talking the forthcoming governorship elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission has been called upon to improve on its performance during Saturday's elections. Residents of Makurdi in Benue State mentioned areas where the commission needs to improve from the previous exercise. Jimmy Azandi reports.
Already, INEC has distributed sensitive and non-sensitive materials to the 23 local government areas ahead of the Saturday the 18 polls. The electorates in Benue think the commission needs improvement in certain areas, such as early arrival of logistics at the polling units.
I think basically INEC needs to improve in early deployment of materials. Because from the last election, what we noticed mostly in most of the polling units was late arrival of election materials. I think INEC should also improve in the issue of security. A situation where we see only one police officer, or in some cases even a road safety officer without arms even at a polling unit. I think it does not guarantee the safety of the voters.
Others want the commission to transmit results electronically from the polling units to avert misconceptions in the final outcome.
Just appreciate to the INEC that they should improve in the mode of collection. They should leave the mode of physical collection to the electronic collection. Hence, they approve their own art of collecting their results electronically.
Some of the voters, however, passed a vote of confidence on INEC and asked the commission to maintain the tempo from the Presidential and National Assembly polls.
You see, we have confidence in INEC, and tomorrow INEC should not fail in their own responsibility to transmit results straight to the server. That is firstly. Secondly, we don't like a situation where Nigerians use too many adjectives to qualify elections. Even in overseas, 3 words are used to qualify elections. That means that elections are free and fair, just 3 words. But in our country, they use too many adjectives by saying that our elections are free, fair, credible, transparent, conclusive and peaceful. We don't need this kind of a thing. Tomorrow's election should be free and fair.
I appreciate INEC the last election. I'm appealing to them to continue the last election. We are okay with the last election. Should we continue with the last election?
INEC, security agents, political parties, journalists, civil society organizations and other stakeholders have all expressed readiness for the rescheduled polls in the state.
Meanwhile, River State Police Command has said its operatives are better prepared to handle security issues that may arise during the forthcoming governorship and State House of Assembly elections. Assistant Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun, who is supervising the state, said this during a press briefing at the command headquarters in Port Harcourt. The report.
The Inspector General of Police, IGP Usman Baba Al-Khali, has deployed 1 Assistant Inspector General of Police and 5 Commissioners of Police to River State for the governorship and State House Assembly elections billed to hold on Saturday. AIG Kayode Egbetokun said that the relevant laws would be enforced by the police to ensure peaceful and successful elections. He said restriction of movements during the elections would be strictly enforced.
The 3 weeks period that we have between the last election and now have been utilized to cross our T's and dot our I's in preparing for this election. We therefore look forward to a better election on Saturday. In this election, we are committed to ensuring a peaceful conduct. We will not allow any person or group of persons to disrupt this election. We are committed to ensuring peaceful conduct. And in doing this, we are going to enforce all laws relating to this election strictly. We will enforce all the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We will enforce the provision of the Criminal Code.
AIG Egbetokun urged citizens to come out and vote for their preferred candidates, adding that the police would provide level playing ground during the exercise.
All persons who are criminally minded and who may want to come out to disrupt this election are hereby warned to have a change of mind. I also advise that everyone should shun fake news. We should shun hate speech and all other social utterances that are inimical to peace. We have had cases where youths were incited into violence because of fake news. So let us exercise restraint in reacting to some of these stories that will be coming out.
AIG Egbetokun warns that security aides and escorts are not allowed to accompany their principals and politicians to polling stations and collation centers during the election, as anyone found flouting this directive will be severely sanctioned.
Now to Gombe State, where the State Security Council has held an emergency meeting on peaceful conduct of Saturday's governorship and House of Assembly elections. The State Governor, Inuwa Yahya, led the Security Council meeting on Friday evening at the Government House, Gombe. The Commissioner of Police in the state, Okwa Etim, briefed newsmen after the meeting. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has deployed its personnel across the states where governorship and state assembly elections will take place on Saturday. The EFCC spokesperson, Wilson Ojaren, said this in a statement on Friday in Abuja. Ojaren said the move was to ensure that the elections were devoid of financial malpractice, especially inducement of voters. According to him, the teams led by senior officers began arriving at their assigned locations earlier on Friday. The spokesman said that the brief of the teams was to deter vote trading and other financial malpractice that could compromise the integrity of the elections. He said that the executive chairman, Abdul Rashid Bawa, had in a message to the teams before the presidential and national assembly elections charged them to exhibit a high sense of integrity and professionalism in carrying out their duties. And now to matters of security, where a soldier has been reportedly killed following an attack by gunmen in communities located in Paikoro and Munya local government areas of Niger State. Reports say the gunmen also killed a village head and a medical practitioner and abducted over 60 people, including women and children. The gunmen, numbering about 100, were said to have invaded the two neighboring communities of Beni in Munya local government and Adunu in Paikoro on Monday, raiding from house to house, dispossessing the people of their money and other valuables with foodstuff. However, a joint security task force ambushed the fleeing gunmen at Sarikim Power, and the resultant gun battle led to the killing of a number of the task force and a local vigilante member, while several others sustained various degrees of injury and are currently being treated at a government health facility in Minna, the Niger State capital. 2 patrol vehicles belonging to the Joint Security Task Force were also vandalized by the gunmen, with the windscreens and tires shattered with bullets. The police in Niger State are yet to comment on the incident. Now, the prospect of addressing insecurity is reinforced by recent security indicators suggesting a reduction in incidences of kidnappings and attacks on innocent Nigerians. An Abuja-based security consultant, Kabir Adamu, said this in an interview with Kabir Lawal.
Kabir Adamu, while addressing the state of security in the nation in the last few months, admitted that security has improved, adding that such improvement will make securing lives and property in the country easier. The security expert further explained that the security is a collaborative effort between security operatives and the people, hence the need for the active participation.
There have been improvements. We started this year with a lot of concerns. Of course, it's an election year. Last year, the pre-election year, about 11,000 Nigerians were killed. So we came into this year with a lot of concerns that the situation may escalate and that it may even prevent the elections from holding. However, we've seen remarkable improvements As at January, when we released our January report, there was a 49% reduction in fatalities and about 79% reduction in abduction. By the month of February, we also saw an additional reduction in the case of abduction of about 17%. That's in addition to the 49 I earlier spoke about. And then for fatalities, also about 20% reduction. So clearly, what the government is doing in terms of security operations and other engagements has yielded a level of success. And it is exactly because of that the presidential elections that held on February 25th were quite peaceful. There weren't any major security occurrences.
Adamu explained that the index of banditry has drastically reduced, a situation he described as an indicator of success to the country.
The sustainability of the current effort by the government is in doubt because it's very expensive when you carry out kinetic operations, whether by ground troops or by the Air Force. It's money consuming, and it's not something that frankly can be sustained for a very long period. So our advice is to combine that kinetic with the non-kinetic measures so that you do away with the triggers, those things that drive the insecurity. Because as long as these bad guys are able to recruit, as long as they're able to bring in more weapons, as long as they have the chance to operate freely, the versatility, then we would need to continue that kinetic cooperation, and we don't have the funds really to continue along that line. So we need to eliminate those drivers.
He called on Nigerians to use the security hotlines and report crimes in order to reduce incidents of criminality in the country. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And still talking security, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps has apprehended 11 suspects in connection with hoarding and diversion of petroleum products in Bauchi State, undermining the efforts of the federal government to make fuel available for public consumption at an affordable price. The Corps Commandant in the state, James Edo, said this while parading the suspects. Adamu Imam completes the story.
Parading the suspect before newsmen, the NSCDC commandant expressed concern over the illegal activities of buying and selling the fuel at the middle of the night by unknown people with a view to taking the product outside the state.
163 XA loaded with 30 jerrycans. Preliminary investigation revealed that the source of supply of the PMS was at Shafa filling station, Kanu Road. The suspects claiming to have purchased the PMS at Shafa at about 0200 hours by the Shafa filling station manager Sani Mohammed and Bashir Mukaila, claimed to be operating provision store inside the filling station but illegally involved in supplying the products to the above suspects, while Sani Musa claimed to be the seller of engine oil, but the suspects identified himself as one of their suppliers of PMS, and Sufyan Bishar is the operation manager of the filling station.
Edo further explained that anyone found trying to vandalize national asset that may bring about hardship and scarcity of the petroleum product will be dealt with according to the law.
We will beef up our intelligence the more to see who is going to commit the crime. But we are warning the public to desist from such crime, because the petroleum product itself is not enough for the state, and people are hoarding it. And like I said, the investigation is on to know why they are doing this business.
One of the suspects, a manager of the filling station, confessed to the accusation, but said only sold fuel to black marketers within the state.
I was at home and not feeling well where the incident occurred. We sold the fuel to our younger brothers so that we can get something instead of doing nothing. That's the only thing we do. We do not sell to criminals or unknown persons. It was a mistake that we sold to them, and that's because it was at night.
The commandant added that investigation is ongoing and the suspect will be charged to court upon completion. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
And now to judicial matters, where the National Judicial Council has recommended the compulsory retirement of the Chief Judge of Taraba State High Court, Justice Philibus Andeto, with immediate effect. Justice Andeto was recommended for compulsory retirement following his indictment in a petition written against him by Senator Muhammad Sanusi Dagash. Senator Dagash had in the petition accused the embattled Chief Judge of suppressing judgment by failing to rule in the case involving Malam Qasim Yahya Ahmed against Shitu Wurmo and Shuwari Farms Limited. A statement by the Director of Information of the NJC, Sojuoye, on Friday at the end of the Council's 101st meeting said the investigative committee found Justice Andeto to have breached the provisions of Section 294, subsection 1 of the Nigerian Constitution, and therefore recommended him for compulsory retirement with immediate effect to Governor Darius Dixon Ishaku of Taraba State. He said the council also considered the report of the Complaints Assessment Committee and agreed with its recommendations to empanel 4 committees to further investigate 4 of the 7 petitions forwarded to it, and dismissed 3 others, 1 for being sub judice and the 2 via the retirement of the judges. The management of the Kogi State Polytechnic, Lokoja, has dismissed 4 senior lecturers from service for alleged acts of gross misconduct bordering on fraud, sexual harassment, and others. The Public Relations Officer of the institutions, Uredo Omale, says this in a press statement which was made available to newsmen in Lokoja on Friday. She said the concerned lecturers were fired for misconduct bordering on sexual harassment, victimization of female students, absconding from duties, insubordination, falsification of records, disobedience to lawful order, and diversion of TET Fund training grants. According to her, the dismissal of the lecturers was sequel to the approval by the Governing Council of Kogi State Polytechnic at its 68th meeting. Some offences of the dismissed lecturers include disobedience to lawful order, falsification of documents to obtain training grant, and diversion of the said training grant to the tune of 22,676,500 and 21,204,000 naira. Still with us on Trust TV News Hour. Still ahead, we take a look at why 5G technology is attractive. Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV's News Hour. Now let's recap our top stories. Court orders INEC to transmit election results electronically as governorship and national and state assembly elections hold on Saturday. And National Judiciary Council recommends compulsory retirement of Chief Judge of Taraba State. Moving on to other news now, the Poultry Farmers Association of Nigeria, PFAN, says its members have lost more than 30 billion naira worth of eggs due to the lingering cash scarcity in the country. Sunday Onalo Akpa, national president of PFAN, in a statement on Friday, said that the poultry industry was on the verge of total collapse and extermination. He said poultry farmers in the country have lost over 15 million crates of eggs being unsold and are currently damaged. Onalo Akpa described the poultry industry in Nigeria as one of the most consolidated subsectors of agriculture, contributing about 25% of the agricultural gross domestic product and employing over 25 million Nigerians both directly and indirectly. Meanwhile, catfish farmers have lamented low patronage due to the cash crunch across the country, occasioned by the Central Bank of Nigeria's cashless policy and the Naira redesign. The farmers said this in separate interviews with the News Agency of Nigeria on Friday in Lagos. Anthony Hamid, the Chief Executive Officer of Simple Aquaculture and Standard Resource Farms, lamented low demand of catfish in spite of the acceptance of the cashless policy. Hamid said people are no longer buying catfish, and fishes are just in the water consuming feeds and increasing costs of operations. He said catfish sellers accept mobile transfers, but sales have dropped since the Naira scarcity began. He noted that in spite of the high cost of feed materials, sellers had to slash prices in order to stay in business. On her part, another farmer, Kemi Egbucha, said that a lot of farmers had closed down their farms due to low patronage. She said most times when fish farmers order feed from companies, they have their supplies delayed for up to a month, which in turn results in losses. And now to Kaduna State, where the State Pilgrims Agency on Thursday began training and enlightenment program for the prospective pilgrims for the 2023 Hajj. The Emir of Zazzau, Ahmad Nuhu Bamali, admonished the intending pilgrims to be good ambassadors of the country. The report.
Emir Bamali said training and enlightenment were very necessary because they would guide intending pilgrims on how to perform the Hajj without hitches. He said pilgrims must show keen interest on the training and be enlightened to know how to perform the Hajj, calling on them to avoid anything that would dent their image and that of the country.
This year's pilgrimage is going to be different, as measures have been put in place to cushion the effect of suffering being encountered by the pilgrims at the Holy Land and the previous pilgrimage. Since I have been saddled with the responsibility of taking charge of pilgrims in the Holy Land, I will make sure all steps are taken that will make the Hajj more easier for us.
Earlier, the executive secretary of the agency, Yusuf Arigasiu, said the program was tailored to make intending pilgrims familiar with Hajj rituals.
I'm advising all the pilgrims to listen attentively to all what they've been taught, as it will help them even before getting to the Holy Land. It is important to take into cognizance all the steps being taught to make them good ambassadors at all times. I also want to thank those that have taken their time to lecture pilgrims on what is expected of them to make their exercise over there more easier.
Officials of the Nigeria Immigration Service, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Customs Service, and NAFDAC, among others, speak to the intending pilgrims on what is expected from them while in the Holy Land.
The rollout of the fifth generation network, popularly called 5G, in some Nigerian cities has been seen as an improvement in the technological development of the country. Residents who spoke to Trust TV News said 5G will make access to internet-based information easier and faster, and also boost the speed of technology-driven operations in the country. Zainab Garay reports.
5G network was launched in 588 sites across key cities in the 6 geopolitical regions of the country in September 2022. Though still limited, access to the service is believed to give greater efficiency, high resolution and bidirectional large bandwidth shipping. A cross-section of Abuja residents that spoke to Trust TV News said the innovation is quite impressive, especially at this time where the world has become a global village.
5G will be a very interesting internet, help the internet frame. As we had in the 3G, that goes to the 4G, helps reduce the buffer time in internet. And I think the 5G will bring about technology in different space, easy to do transaction, business, AI, and other business area. So I think the 5G is actually a very welcome development.
What I think about the 5G is I think that it's an amazing innovation. Most of the gadgets that actually have 5G that we have seen, they are usually very expensive because it's 5G, right? That's what it gives. It's expensive, so it probably would give you higher quality of connection or something. But yeah, that's what I think about the 5G.
Basically, I just know that it's MTN 5G. I don't really know of the speed. But I know of 4G, and I know that 4G was really good, and it's still very good.
Others believe that 5G will go beyond data speed to improving accuracy for web search queries.
We believe that the 5G, according to them, is going to be faster, that we're going to experience more. But all these things doesn't have their own consequences. I believe there will be some negative side of it, but we all believe in improvement, and we believe that as time goes on, one has to learn. We don't need to go backwards, have to follow the trend.
As much as we want to go to 5G, which is actually a very good step, I also feel that we need to increase our infrastructure to be able to accommodate that. Most of our devices are 4G enabled, so we need to be able to move. So the society as well has to move to that technology. But I think the coming of 5G will actually help technology in Nigeria and the world.
Personally, I'm using the 4G, so I think if 5G comes in place, it could be faster and better than the 4G itself. So me, I'm welcome for any development and improvement.
Residents are calling on the government to make it available in more cities and states as well as affordable in order to better their digital lives. Zainab Garay, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And owners of property in Abuja have appealed to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed Bello, to shelve the planned demolition of illegal estates in Apo Tepi and Lugbe areas of Abuja Municipal Area Council. The Association's Secretary General, Miracle Uduma, made the appeal while briefing newsmen during a peaceful protest by the members of the association at the Crown Prince Estate office in Asokoro, Abuja. The FCT administration had on March 10th lamented the proliferation of illegal housing estates and other developments along Idu train station, Apo Tepi and Lugbe areas of the Municipal Area Council. The Director, Department of Development Control, FCTA, Mukhtar Galadima, raised alarm over the spike in adverts on social media by land grabbers and illegal developers of housing estates. Galadima said that the department had served demolition notices to all illegal developers along the affected areas where people were busy spending money. Uduma, however, said they were deceived by developers that they had obtained original land title documents from the relevant agencies of the FCT administration. The chairman, FCT chapter of the National Institute of Town Planners, Lami Ayuba, advised those who want to acquire property in the FCT and anywhere in the country to ask for the allocation letter, land use approval, building plan approval and site plan. You're still watching Trust TV's News Hour. The news continues after this break. You stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV's News Hour. Right now, let's join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
Air transport workers have sued Hadi Sirika, Aviation Minister, and the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria FAN over the planned concession of 4 major airports in the country. In the suit, marked NICN/LA/68/2023 and filed before an industrial court on Thursday, the plaintiffs are seeking to stop the concession of Aminu Kano International Airport, Kano, Port Harcourt International Airport, Rivers State, Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos State, and the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The claimants are the Air Transport Services Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, ATSAN, the National Union of Air Transport Employees, NUATE, the Association of Nigerian Aviation Professionals (ANAP), and the Nigerian Union of Pensioners, the FAN branch. They argued that the Aviation Minister and FAN were not competent to concession the various airports without the consent and authority of the federal government, 36 state governments, and the 774 local government councils in Nigeria. Meta Platforms Inc. on Friday launched a subscription service in the United States, which would allow Facebook and Instagram users to pay for verification in the same vein as Elon Musk-owned Twitter. According to Meta in a statement, the Meta Verify service will give users a blue badge after they verify their account using a government ID and will cost $11.99 per month on the web or $14.99 a month on Apple's iOS system and Google-owned Android. The service, which Meta said it was tested in February, follows in the footsteps of Snap Inc.-owned Snapchat as well as messaging app Telegram and marks the latest effort by a social media company to diversify its revenue away from advertising. And finally, in stocks at the end of last week's day of trading on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 156.97 million shares in 2,952 deals, corresponding to a market value of 1.56 billion naira, were traded. Compared with the previous NGX trading day, Thursday, March 16, today's data shows 14% improvement in volume, 4% improvement in turnover, but 15% decline in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 29.9 trillion naira. In the aggregate, 104 NGX listed equities participated in trading, ending with 17 gainers and 11 losers. United Capital led the gainers with 9.91% share price appreciation, while on the losing side, Multiverse Mining and Exploration came out last. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Wafo.
Thank you, Chiamaka, for that business update. Now it's time for us to take a look at the international scene, where Cyclone Freddy, an exceptionally long-lasting storm, has claimed the lives of over 400 individuals in southern Africa. The vast majority of these casualties occurred in Malawi, where the death toll continued to rise as search and rescue efforts become increasingly futile. Hopes of finding survivors dwindle. Freddy struck twice in a few weeks in the region, killing 73 people in Mozambique, 17 in Madagascar, and now 326 in Malawi, according to the latest death toll announced in the evening by the president. More than 300 emergency shelters have been opened. Formed in early February off the coast of Australia, the cyclone, which is on its way to being classified as the longest ever recorded, made an unprecedented crossing of more than 8,000 kilometers from east to west in the Indian Ocean. And the son of aging leader of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, has announced that he plans to run for president in 2026. This is the first time the outspoken army general has provided a timetable for succeeding his father, who has controlled the East African nation for 37 years. The opposition in Uganda has long accused Museveni of trying to install a monarchy on the country and the preparing of Kainerugaba to succeed him. Those charges have been refuted by Museveni. The 48-year-old general, who serves as a presidential advisor, as well as known for sending out contentious tweets that have caused him to receive criticism from his father. And hundreds of people, including Ghana's president, have paid their last respects to Christian Atsu, who died in last month's earthquake in Turkey. His funeral was held outside State House in Ghana's capital, Accra. Representatives of Ghana's national team and Atsu's Turkish club, Hatayspor, were also at the ceremony, for a man seen by many as a national hero. Atsu's body was recovered a fortnight after the quake from the rubble of his apartment building. It was returned to Ghana almost a month ago, and he will be buried later in his home village in southeastern Ghana. 31-year-old Atsu spent most of his career playing in the English Premier League for clubs including Chelsea, Newcastle and Everton. And all eyes will be on London this weekend as Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman clash in the main event of UFC 286. The two rivals will meet for the third time as they fight for Edwards' light welterweight title at the O2 Arena, with both fighters claiming a victory over the other. The third bout is not just about the title, it's also about bragging rights. Tensions are high ahead of the third bout between Edwards and Usman. And during a recent press conference for the bout, the two argued over their previous fights. Usman talked about his dominance over the champion in their previous fights, while Edwards fired back about his vicious head kick, which knocked out the former champion. Right now, let's join Adeni Ajishafe for sports news.
Of our volleyball club of Kwara State on Thursday emerged winner of 2023 Abuja Invitational Volleyball Challenge after beating Games Village Volleyball Club of Abuja 3-0, 25-22, 25-16, 25-22. In the female category, Scorpion Spikers defeated Chief of Army Staff Spikers 3-1. And in football, Jose Mourinho reacts at UEFA policy of moving teams to a lesser competition if they are eliminated early from another. Mourinho is upset at how meaningless Europa League will be if it is won by a team that started in the Champions League, with half of quarter-final opponents dropping down from Champions League. In his post-match interview, Mourinho frowned at how teams that finished third in the Champions League group stage have moved to the Europa League. A similar process allows sides who do not progress from the second-tier tournament into the latter stages of UEFA Europa Conference League. And still on football, defending champion Real Madrid will play 2021 winners Chelsea in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, while Manchester City's Pep Guardiola will face his former club Bayern Munich after being drawn together in Lyon on Friday. Real beat Liverpool 6-2 on aggregate in the last 16. Will be up against another English side after Graham Potter's Chelsea handed Borussia Dortmund their first loss of the year and qualified with a 2-1 aggregate win. City, runners-up in 2021, will face 2020 champions Bayern, managed by Guardiola for 3 seasons from 2013. Under Guardiola, they were perennial Bundesliga champions, but fell at the Champions League semi-final stage each year. Reigning Serie A champion AC Milan will face this season's runaway leaders Napoli in an all-Italian clash, while Inter Milan play Portuguese side Benfica. The semi-final draw was also made with all 3 Italian sides on one side of the draw and both English teams in the other half. That's sport news. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
Thank you, Adeni, for that sports roundup. Before we go, here is a kicker. Now, these refugees are healing their wounds and that of the planet by planting trees in the Tongogara refugee camp in Zimbabwe. They also have long-term plans to establish a public park. Let's take a look.
I have been here for so long, since 2000 now, and here is now like my home. And why can't I just start thinking to see how we have to make it a better place to live? And that is why I come with the idea, because even when I was young, since I was young, I was just thinking how I have to do good things for the society. We plant the tree while the tree is growing up. What we do also, we make sure that also we put our vegetable beans because we also have the objective of fighting against poverty. My parents was died when I was 13. I have the opportunity of healing my wound. And when I have the opportunity of healing my wound, that is what I choose also to heal the planet.
I'm working because if I try to make this place green and the trees grow, it might help the next generation. Yeah, they might be in a place where there's no more temperature, high temperatures.
When we are talking about climate change, in Ntongogara you can feel it live. Because other places you may find there is a cooler trees, whatever, but here in Ntongogara you can feel it. And sometimes it's also difficult for us to breathe because it's too hot. Even in our absence in Ntongogara, this will show that we were there. This is our presence. So planting a tree is like planting a spirit.
And on that note, we wrap up Trust TV News Hour for tonight. Don't forget, for more news, you can subscribe to watch us live on YouTube and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.